Well, I have to say, when I first saw this file, I was a little shocked that two parents would be incarcerated, put into detention, and small children, the two twins born here in Canada, were left with neighbors. No idea what happened with their parents, two infants and a small little girl left with neighbors. And in the case of Mrs. Tabaj, she was in Milton in a correctional facility in a unit with someone who'd committed a stabbing. And the father, who's partially paralyzed, was at West Detention. So I found that unacceptable, that could happen in Canada. So I posted the bond that was required to get the mother out of detention. They wouldn't allow the father out of detention. And then I started looking at the case, and I have to tell you, when I looked at the details, I thought, what a fantastic story. This is a little hard to believe. But the more I went into the details and checked the facts, the more I realized, my goodness, we're going to put a family at risk. And one of the key moments was when I spoke with the Albanian ambassador, and it was at a reception in Ottawa, and I pulled him aside. He said this to me in confidence, but the lives are at risk. I'm compelled to bring this out publicly. And he said, it's not much bigger than the GTA. It's just a matter of time. Even before a pre-removal risk assessment was done by our government officials.
Is it where you think the blame should lay? To Minister Kinney, to his staff?
Absolutely. We need, you see, we throw around the term of responsible government, and the minister has an incredibly responsible role. There's a higher bar that's required of him. He is the safety valve in our immigration refugee system. Immigration is one thing, but the refugee system, I'm the son and grandson of refugees, and I know some of the horrors that took place in their particular sets of circumstances when refugees were returned to the former Soviet Union. Now, this isn't a complete parallel, but we can potentially put lives at risk in cases of refugee claimants. We have to get it right. And I told Minister Kenny, even if it's a 10 or 15% chance, let's err on the side of caution. We have two Canadian boys, infants. Why would we ever put two small Canadian children at risk? Unfortunately, the minister made the decision he made to deport. But even worse was a year into it, after an assassination attempt, a shooting, drive-by shooting on the family in Albania, we actually got the PRA decision. We had two decisions where the process actually said, bring them back. And then all of a sudden, from the regional office, it got shifted to Ottawa. The minister's office appears to have gotten themselves involved, and they stopped it. So at that point, I couldn't turn my back on a family that was in hiding, and knowing that at some point in time there could be a bullet waiting for any one of them. And I engaged a lawyer, Catherine Ramsey, who did a wonderful job. And today's an amazing day because the family has come out of hiding. They're coming back to the safety and security of Canada. And it's thanks to the decision of a federal court judge. She ruled that their evidence was accurate, that there was no misrepresentation, and then she ruled that they have to be brought out of harm's way. They have to be brought back to Canada immediately. So they have to be given visas and given temporary resident status. Once here, we begin the process of properly landing them. That's the court decision, the judge's decision. And then she delivered a slap on the wrist to the government, because the government was arguing the other side, and the judge gave punitive damages of $1,500 against the government in this case. And I'm not an expert in cases of immigration that people have taken the government to task, but I understand from a number of people this is one rare occasion. This, as far as I've been told, people are not aware of a previous case of this sort.
So did the judge find that the minister exercised his authority capriciously then, I guess?
No, the minister didn't find any. The minister basically ordered the government. The minister didn't address the minister. The judge did not deal with the minister specifically, but I in fact have a whole sequence of events that I've kept a log of, the dates of my interactions with Minister Kenney when they were being deported from the airport here at Pearson. In fact, it was almost like a game of hide-and-go-seek in the chamber of the House of Commons. I finally cornered the minister behind the curtains of the House of Commons, and I said, my goodness, what are we doing here? And so the judge addressed the government. It was the government's orders. The Department of Justice lawyers act on behalf of the Department of Citizenship and Immigration.
Right. And when was that you cornered the family?
That would have been 2 years ago.
Deported?
Yeah, just over 2 years ago. Yes.
So there was deep.
Right.
So that's it is a minister and a government that has repeatedly said, not speaking of this case, but the appeal processes are too cumbersome. We've heard, and they seem to be big on deporting war criminals and criminals and such lately. But the other side of it is that if you sort of winnow out these appeal processes, people get sent back to.
And that's precisely the point. You have a situation. Mr. Tabaj isn't special in any way other than he's a father of 3 small children and the fortunate survivor of an assassination attempt where 2 other men died, including his brother-in-law. And he's the only surviving eyewitness of the individuals that carried out this assassination attack. So that's the only special thing about Mr. Tabaj. All he wanted was refuge in Canada. So that Canada's promise of freedom, security, being able to build a life for his children would be the Tabaj family promise. Well, today, thanks to the judge's decision, that promise is on the cusp of being fulfilled.
And so the IRB, how did they rule on this one? They did not support his refugee claim, or they found
That's
it
going
not
back
credible?
a few years. I have
sorry.
to check the file.
Okay, but he was prior to the trial. That was the board.
And I went to the minister, and I spelled out all the details. Like I said, I did my due diligence.
Yeah.
I went through the details of this case, because when I first started hearing the details, just all sounded so fantastical. A man paralyzed surviving an assassination attempt, the assassins still being free and at large in Albania because of connections to the government that was elected, and so it all. You hear. Potentially save the lives of the number of zeros. It wasn't a huge amount. Right. That was successful because it's a tremendous responsibility.
And what are you doing now, Boris?
Future Bakery.
Future Bakery, back to that.
Back to my businesses. Well, no, I'm still engaged with